Hello, everyone. This is Professor Warsi. Today, I have a brand new lesson for you on the difference between local errors and global errors in English. So, let's begin. Errors, as you know, are very common, right, in speech and in writing. When people write, especially my students, when they write essays, they make local errors. What are they? Right? You must be wondering, what's a local error and what is a global error? Let's learn. So local errors appear in a sentence, right? But without altering or damaging the meaning that the writer intends to convey to the reader. For example, he go to school every day. Do you notice the error? The verb tense is in error, right? It does not agree with the subject, he. What's the correct sentence? He goes to school every day. Okay? So, how are global errors different from local errors? Global errors actually affect the meaning that the writer wants to convey to the reader. They're hard for the reader to understand. For example, because the crime rate is increasing in the city. Period. The reader is confused, like, tell me more, what happens? So the sentence is incomplete. Therefore, it's a global error. How do we correct this incorrect sentence? By adding, the mayor has recruited more police officers to enforce law and order. Now it's a complete thought. So that's the difference between local and global errors. Let's look at it again. Local errors are minor. The impact of local errors on the reader is minor, but global errors must be avoided in formal writing. Text messages, emails are different, but if you're writing a paper for your college professor, then you must avoid global errors. The impact is major. In terms of understanding, if there are local errors in writing, the reader can still understand the meaning. But that's not the case with global errors. If there are global errors in writing, it's very difficult for the reader to understand what the writer means. Okay? So what is the focus? When it's local errors, let's say you wrote a paragraph, you're reading it, trying to find the error that you have made. The local errors are mostly grammatical. Maybe there's an error with the vocabulary, spelling maybe. But global errors, right, they are on the sentence level. They affect meaning. So there is a big difference between the two. Okay, so local errors, as I just explained, may have violated, a grammar rule, but a good reader, an intelligent reader, can still understand the meaning. So, Noriko have finished her essay. The meaning is clear. Noriko is a student. The verb is finish. She completed her essay. She was writing an essay. But there is a helping verb there, have. But Noriko is just one person, and have is a plural verb, right? So there's an error there. So the correct sentence should be, Noriko has finished her essay. But you understood the meaning, regardless. Okay? So let's look at several types of local errors. Subject-verb agreement errors. That is a type. There are others. I have highlighted all the errors in red. They're all ungrammatical sentences. How can you tell? There is an asterisk before each ungrammatical sentence. So it's a linguistic convention to use an asterisk before an ungrammatical sentence. And that is for the benefit of the reader. So look at all of the examples. I have given you the correct sentences for each ungrammatical sentence, so you can learn how to avoid local errors, this type of local error. Okay, participle errors. I am not interested in this topic. You see, interesting is wrong. The correct form is interested. Like, I'm not interested in this topic. Or, I am boring in this class. That's a participle error. Correct? I am bored in this class. So when you hear or see a sentence written ungrammatically, like I'm boring in this class, you could still understand what the writer is trying to say, right? So that's the second type of local error. Article errors. There are languages in which articles are not used, but in English, they play an important role. So, the life is interesting, for example. That is ungrammatical in English. You say life is interesting, right? It so happens that in many languages, people use nouns without using an article. They could just say, I bought car in some languages. But in English, you need an article before car because car is a count noun. You can count cars, 1 car, 3 cars. So be careful when you write in English. Make sure that you're using articles before count nouns. Okay, so count noun and non-count noun. Now that's a whole different lesson, and I will cover that in a separate lesson. There are nouns in English that you can count, such as car, pencil, pen, college, and there are nouns that cannot be counted, such as milk, right? So my roommate needs to buy milks. That's an error. That's a local error, because the listener or the reader in this case can still understand that your roommate needs to buy milk. It's just the S that makes the sentence ungrammatical. Okay, so far so good. Let's keep moving. Spelling is also very important, right? I am definitely going to attend the event tomorrow. I mean, the sentence is clear. The meaning is clear. It's just that the word definitely is misspelled. Okay? So that is another type of a local error. Word order errors. Now, word order equals syntax, which is the order in which words appear in a sentence, right? I very much like you. That's a word order error. It's a local error, of course. The correct form should be, I like you very much. Yeah? She liked the man handsome. The correct form is, she liked the handsome man. So in English, adjectives come before nouns. A handsome man, not a man handsome. So that's a word order error. I'm not going through each and every example because that will take us forever. You can always go back and take this lesson again and go through each and every single example to learn. Okay, preposition. Now, prepositions are tricky because they differ from language to language, and there are many prepositions. If you are interested, you can take the lesson on prepositions that I have created. So you can watch that as well to learn how to use different prepositions, such as in, on, at. So I'm learning many things on this course. That's a preposition error, because it should be in this course, not on this course. So look at the rest of the examples. Take your time. Maybe you can just stop the video at this point and study all of these errors and see how they are corrected, because I've used the correct preposition for each sentence. Okay? All right. Plural form errors. So in English, nouns that are counted or that can be counted, such as a cup or bottle, take an S, plural S suffix. So an S is attached to it to indicate to the reader that there is more than one noun there. So my sister has 3 cats. That S there, right, means there is more than one cat. Now I understand for students who speak Mandarin as their first language, they find this strange or confusing because in Mandarin you just say, my sister has 3 cats. There's no S. So these students, when they write in English, sometimes tend to make that error. So just be mindful, learn these plural forms correctly. My father owns 2 stores. The suffix at the end, 2 stores. All right. Word form errors. So the difference between hard and hardly can change the meaning, right? That the writer wants to express. I've been working hardly. The correct sentence is I have been working hard. So consider the other examples. Study word form errors. And when you write a paragraph, a few paragraphs, or an essay, be mindful of word form errors. Okay, verbs, verb tenses. I am strongly disagree with her. I am strongly disagree. That's a verb error, right? Because the to be verb am shouldn't be there. It's just I strongly disagree with her. A verb such as enjoy is followed by a gerund, reading. Not I enjoy to read novels. I enjoy reading novels. Okay? Okay. So I think we have covered local errors in English. Let's move on to global errors. If you remember, I explained to you earlier that global errors have a very negative impact on the reader's understanding, right? Global errors confuse the reader. The reader doesn't understand, like, what is the meaning the writer is trying to convey, right? So they get confused. So let's look at some global errors now. Sentence fragments. A fragment is a broken part, right, of something bigger. Since the college embraces diversity, period. How do you feel about this sentence? Do you think this sentence is grammatically correct? Something is missing, right? So I've added a main clause. Since the college embraces diversity, it accepts students from many racial and linguistic backgrounds. Now the idea is complete and the reader is not confused. So that is a type of a global error, sentence fragments. Run-on sentences. Now this is notorious. I teach writing every semester. My students write run-on sentences. So the sentences keep running on. They don't stop. So Maria comes from Ecuador. She studies law at the City University of New York. After she graduates, she plans. Very confusing, right? Why does that happen? Because you don't see a comma or a period in between sentences. The correct form is Maria comes from Ecuador, period. She studies law at the City University of New York, period. So these sentences are complete and they don't confuse the reader because the reader can see where an idea began and where it ended. So that's the second type of a global error. Comma splices, also very common in student writing. And to really understand what comma splices are and how to avoid them, I strongly recommend that you take my lesson on conjunctions, coordinating conjunctions, so that you will know how to avoid comma splices. What happens in the first example, students from impoverished countries, there is a comma and another idea begins. They do not perform well, but there is no conjunction to connect the two sentences. Okay? So be aware when you write a paragraph, go through it, read it and become your own editor and see, oh, I missed a conjunction here. I need and, but, or, so, a conjunction to connect the two sentences. So those are examples of comma splices. Syntax errors. Syntax is grammar, generally speaking. Syntax means grammar. See what happens in the first example. It's an ungrammatical sentence. If my friend had not warned me, my bag would have lost. Now, there are some languages in which this sentence may be grammatically correct, but not in English. The correct form is, if my friend had not warned me, I would have lost my bag. This person did not lose her or his bag. Okay? He's easy learning computer science. That's a syntax error. He learns computer science easily. That's an adverb. All right? So let's summarize. This was a very important lesson for you. If you study the errors carefully and correct each of the ungrammatical sentences that you may have written in your paragraph or essay, you will become more sensitive, right, to these errors. Let's summarize what we have learned so far. We have learned local errors. We have also learned global errors. Okay? So let's summarize. What are they? There are 10 types of local errors. We've gone over each one of them. Subject-verb agreement, participle errors, article errors, count and non-count noun errors, spelling errors, word order errors, preposition errors, plural form errors, word form errors, verb form errors. If you do not remember all of them, I suggest that you go back and start from the beginning and make sure that you are familiar with all of these local errors. Then you will be able to avoid them when you write. We also learned 4 types of global errors: fragments, run-on sentences, comma splices, and syntax errors. Okay, so as we usually end, I have pretty much given you both correct and incorrect forms, right, of sentences with these errors. Let's do this mini exercise. This is a very short exercise. Read the paragraph carefully. Your job is twofold. First, identify what the errors are, local or global, and then see if you can fix them. Meaning, rewrite the sentence and see if you have written grammatically correct sentences. So stop the video here and complete the exercise. Okay, here are the answers, right? There are 3 local errors and then 3 global errors in this passage. All right, so very good. I'm glad that you took this lesson with me. If you have any questions, I'm not getting a lot of questions from you. If you have any questions, if you find something confusing or difficult to understand, please write your questions in the comment box below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. All right? So I'll leave you with this exercise. Work hard. Keep studying. The more you live in English, the more English will live in you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.